Good morning, students. Today's class will be the solved question paper of 2010-19 September. The first question was define third stage of labor. Discuss the physiological changes takes place in the third stage of labor which carries 5 mark and explain the management of a client during third stage of labor which carries 8 mark. So first is the definition. Third stage of labor lasts from the birth of the baby until the placenta is expelled. It is then known as the placental stage of labor. Discuss the physiological changes that takes place during third stage of labor, which carries 5 marks. These physiological changes occurs are placental separation, descent of the placenta, and expulsion of the placenta. Explain the management of a client during the third stage of labor. Guard the uterus to keep yourself and anyone else from massaging it prior to the placental separation. Do not massage the uterus before the placental separation except when there is a partial separation has occurred by natural process and excessive bleeding are evident. Do not pull on the umbilical cord before the placenta separates or even an uncontracted uterus. Do not try to deliver the placenta prior to its complete separation unless an emergency of third stage hemorrhage. Wait for the natural process to occur and do not interfere. A hand is placed over the fundus to feed the signs of placental separation. The client is asked to bear down simultaneously with the hardening of the uterus. If the placenta failed to expel, one can wait for up to 10 minutes. As soon as the placenta passes through the introitus, it is grasped by both hands and twisted around, round and round or slightly up and down with the gentle traction. Expectant management after spontaneous expulsions include constant watch, that is, hand placed on the fundus to recognize signs of separation to note a state of uterine activity. Expulsion of the placenta once separation and descent in the lower uterine segment is confirmed, ask the patient to bear down. Active management of third stage of labor consists of interventions designed to facilitate the delivery of placenta by increasing the uterine contraction and to prevent PPH by averting uterine atony. The usual components include administration of a uterotonic agents and controlled contraction. The nursing diagnosis in the third stage of labor include acute pain may be related to the physiological response following delivery and a tissue trauma. Knowledge deficit may be related to the lack of information and misinterpretation of the information. Risk for fluid volume deficit may be related to the diaphoresis, increased insensible water loss, lack or restriction of oral intake, laceration in the birth canal, retained placental fragments. Risk for injury may be related to abnormal blood profile, difficulty with placental separation or positioning during delivery and transfers. Risk for altered family process may be related to the developmental transition, gain of a family member, situational crisis like change in roles and responsibilities. The second question was define placenta previa, mention the types, signs and symptoms of placenta previa, explain the management of a client, complete 34 weeks of gestational age with placenta previa. Placenta is implanted partially or completely over the lower uterine segment. We call it as a placenta previa. The types include type 1 or low-lying. Major part is in the upper segment and only lower margin encourages the lower uterine segment but not up to the internal os. Type 2 or marginal. Placenta reaches the margin of the internal os but does not cover it. Type 3 incomplete or partial central. Placenta covers the internal os partially, does not cover fully when fully dilated. Type 4 or central or total. Placenta completely covers the internal os even after it is fully dilated. The symptoms include painless vaginal bleeding. Severe blood loss lead to severe shock signs such as paleness, weak and quick pulse and hypotension. Malpresentation may be exist and floating presentation could be found during the late gestational weeks. The signs include general condition as anemia proportionate to the visible blood loss. Abdominal examination reveals size of the uterus appropriate to gestational age. Uterus is feel relaxed, soft and elastic without any localized area of tenderness. Persistence of malpresentation. Fetal head floating in contrast to the period of gestational age. Fetal heart sound usually present unless major degree of placental separation. Slowing if the fetal heart run pressing head down into the pelvis which soon recovers promptly as the pressure is released. Suggestive of a placenta previa, especially posterior, and it is known as the Stallworthy sign. The clinical features in the signs and symptoms. Only symptom is vaginal bleeding, which is sudden onset, painless and apparently causeless and recurrent. Even though the causeless pH may sometimes complicate, the history suggests history of an abortion, previous cesarean section, diagnosis of multiple pregnancy, and women may reveal history of recurrent painless bleeding in the early weeks of gestation age. The cardinal symptom is painless vaginal bleeding, which appears near the end of second trimester or later. Initial episode is rarely fatal, with subsequent bleeding episodes occurring spontaneously. Each episode is more profuse than the previous one. Bleeding from the placenta previa may not occur until cervical dilatation occurs and placenta is loosened from the uterus. The management of a client who completed 34 weeks of gestation, which may be either with no active bleeding, expectant management can be done, no intercourse, no vaginal examination. With late pregnancy bleeding, assess the overall status, circulatory stability, full dose of Rh anti-D if the mother is Rh negative, consider maternal transfer is premature, maybe need corticosteroid, tocolysis, amniocentesis. Further management depend upon amount of bleeding, general condition of the mother, gestational period and fetal maturity, presence of fetal malformation, whether fetus is alive or dead. If the bleeding is profusely or bleeding got control, if not bleeding profusely or the bleeding got controlled, the conservative management include complete bed rest, daily monitoring the mother and fetal condition, USG done to confirm fetal maturity, rule out malformation and to localize the placenta. When pregnancy reaches 38 weeks, patient is taken for either induction or cesarean section depending upon the condition and position of the placenta. Conservative management with the bed rest and hospitalization until the fetus is mature. If discharged, she needs availability of immediate transport to hospital for recurrent bleeding. In case of uncontrollable bleeding, IV access, at least 2 units of blood should be available all the time. Continuous fetal monitoring. Amniocentesis may be required to determine the fetal lung maturity. Cesarean section indicated in 3 and 4 degree of placenta previa or bleeding if heavy. This is the flow chart of showing the patient is of management of a patient with active bleeding or with no active bleeding. Nursing assessment, assess the baseline vital signs, especially the blood pressure. Physician would order monitoring the blood pressure every 5 to 15 minutes. Assess the fetal heart sound to monitor the well-being of the fetus. Monitor uterine contractions to establish progress of labor of the mother. Then perineal pads used during bleeding to calculate the amount of blood loss. Assess the woman in sideline position when bleeding occurs. Fluid volume deficit. Evaluate, report and record amount and nature of blood loss. Institute bed rest. Position the client appropriately. Note the vital signs, especially capillary refill, color of the mucous membrane, skin and temperature. Monitor the uterine activity, avoid rectal and vaginal examinations. Monitor intake output accurately. Auscultate birth sounds. Insert indwelling catheter. Administer intravenous fluids. Altered uteroplacental tissue perfusion related to hypovolemia, not the maternal physiological status, circulatory status, and blood volume. Auscultate and report FHR, not the bradycardia or tachycardia, not a change in activity. Record any uterine contraction and maternal blood loss. Not expected date of delivery and fundal height. Encourage bed rest in left lateral position. Administer supplemental oxygen as ordered. Carry out non-stress test as ordered. Replace maternal blood losses. Assess with USG. High risk for maternal injury related to the organ hypoxia, abnormal blood profile, high risk for fetal injury related to the decreased uteroplacental perfusion, fear related to the threat of death fetal outcome, anxiety related to the outcome of pregnancy, acute pain related to the uterine contractions, knowledge deficit related to the prognosis and treatment needs. The third question was breast complications during cesarean. The common breast complications are breast engorgement, cracked and retracted nipple, mastitis, and breast abscess lactation failure. It has been dealt in detail in another video. Genital prolapse. The uterine prolapse occurs when the pelvic floor muscles and ligaments stretch and weaken and no longer provide enough support to the uterus. As a result, the uterus slips down into or protrudes out of the vagina. Uterine prolapse can occur in any woman of any age, but it is often affects the postmenopausal woman who had one or more vaginal deliveries. There are of two types: uterovaginal, which is the commonest. Cystocele occurs first, followed by traction effect on the cervix, causing retroversion of the uterus. Congenital, there is no cystocele. Uterus herniates down along the inverted upper vagina. Degrees of uterine prolapse. First degree, the uterus descends down from its normal position. but external os still remains inside the vagina. Second degree, the external os protrudes outside the vaginal introitus, but the uterine body still remains inside the vagina. Third degree, otherwise we call it as a posidentia or a complete prolapse, the uterine body descends to lie outside the introitus. The fifth question was reproductive and child health programs. The reproductive and child health programs, Child Health, otherwise RCH program, was launched throughout the country on 15th October 1997. This program aimed at achieving the status in which women will be able to regulate their fertility, one will be able to go through their pregnancy and the childbirth safely, and the outcome of pregnancies will be successful and will lead to a survival and well-being of the mother and the child. The couples will also be able to have their sexual relation free from fear of pregnancy and of contracting sexually transmitted diseases within the overall umbrella of reducing infant, child, and maternal mortality. The second phase of RCH program, that is RCH2, was launched on 1st April 2005. The main objective of this program was to bring about change in mainly three critical health indicators, that is reducing total fertility rate, infant mortality rate, and maternal mortality rate, with a view to realize the outcomes envisioned in the Millennium Development Goals. RCH Phase 2 RCH began from 1st April 2005. The focus to reduce maternal and child mortality and morbidity with emphasis on rural healthcare. The major strategies are essential obstetric care, emergency obstetric care, and strengthening of the referral system. The new initiatives are training of an MBBS doctors in life-saving anesthetic skills for emergency obstetric care. Government of India is also introducing training of MBBS doctors of obstetric management skills, prepared training plan for 16 weeks in all obstetric management skills including cesarean section operation. Setting up blood storage centers as the means first referral units according to the Government of India guidelines. Janani Suraksha Yojana, the National Maternity Benefit Scheme, has been modified Janani Suraksha Yojana. It was launched in 12th April 2005. It is a 100% centrally sponsored scheme. Under National Rural Health Mission, it integrates the cash assistance with institutional care during antenatal, delivery, and immediate postpartum care. ASHA would work as a link worker. Vande Mataram scheme. It is a voluntary scheme wherein the obstetric and gynecological specialist, maternity home, nursing home, MBBS doctors can volunteer themselves for providing safe motherhood service. The fifth one was safe abortion service, village health and nutrition day, maternal death review, Janani Shishu Suraksha Karyagam. The strategy for child health care aims to reduce under 5 mortality through the improved child care practices and child nutrition, nutrition rehabilitation centers, medical and nutritional care to severe acute malnutrition children under 5 years of age, IMNCI, integrated management of neonate and childhood illness, home-based newborn care, Navajat Shishu Suraksha Karyam, Rashtriya Bal Swada Karyagaram. The sixth question was care of baby with low birth weight. It includes attend by senior pediatrician, clear the mouth and nose by bulb syringe if thick mucus present when the suction catheter, clamp cord quickly to prevent transfer of blood from the placenta to the baby, thus prevent hypervolemia and hyperbilirubinemia. Promptly try keep effectively covered and warm. Monitoring includes Apgar score at 1 minute and 5 minutes, vital signs, activity, behaviors, color, pink, pale gray, blue or yellow, tissue perfusion, pink color, capillary refill over upper chest more than 2 seconds, warm and pink extremities, normal BP, urine output is more than 1.5 ml per kg per hour, absence of metabolic acidosis, lack of disparity between PO2 and SPO2, ABG and electrolytes, kangaroo mother care. Sexually transmitted diseases, we have been already discussed in another answer key. Vaginal secretion of a pregnant woman is always acidic. Why? Vaginal secretions become copious, thin, curdy, white, and pH more acidic due to conversion of glycogen to lactic acid by Lactobacillus acidophilus. And this acidic pH prevents multiplication of organisms, thus prevent the ascending infections. Various reflexes are elicited in a newborn. The presence and strength of the reflex is an important sign of nervous system development and function. Many infant reflexes disappear as the child grows older, although some remain through the adulthood. A reflex that is still present after the age when would normally disappear can be a sign of brain or nervous system damage. Infant reflexes are the responses that are normal in infants but abnormal in other age groups. Careful monitoring of a woman receiving injection of magnesium sulfate is necessary. The first warning impending toxicity in the mother is loss of the patellar reflex at a plasma concentration between 3.5 and 5 millimole per liter. When magnesium sulfate toxicity occurs, it may lead to respiratory depression and death, so the magnesium sulfate should be monitored carefully. Breastfeeding promotes involution of uterus. Early sucking is one of the most important stimuli for the production of oxytocin, which is also responsible for uterine contraction, accelerating the return of the organ to its normal size and reducing the possibility of the occurrence of postpartum hemorrhage and anemia. High levels of oxytocin can increase the pain threshold, reducing maternal discomfort and contributing to an increased feeling of love for the baby. Physiological anemia is common in pregnancy. During pregnancy, the blood volume increases to 50%, but the hemoglobin increases only to 20 to 30%. This disproportionate increase leads to hemodilution, thus leading to anemia during pregnancy. Differentiation between maternal morbidity and mortality rate. Maternal mortality is death of a woman while pregnant or within 42 days of the termination of pregnancy, irrespective of duration and site of pregnancy, from any cause related to aggravated by pregnancy or its management, but not from accidental or incidental causes. Maternal mortality ratio (MMR) is expressed in terms of maternal death per 10 lakh live births. Maternal mortality rate, it indicates number of maternal deaths divided by number of women of reproductive age. The morbidity to a woman from any cause related to pregnancy or its management any time during antepartum, intrapartum and postpartum period up to 42 days after delivery. The parameters for maternal mortality includes fever more than 100.4 degree Fahrenheit or 38 degrees Celsius continued more than 24 hours, blood pressure more than 140 by 90 millimeter of mercury, recurrent vaginal bleeding, HP less than 10.5 gram percentage irrespective of gestational age, asymptomatic bacteriuria of pregnancy. Amnion and chorion. Chorion, it is the outermost layer of fetal membrane. The outer layer is called trophoblast, which means feeding layer. The principal function of this layer is to secure food for the embryo. The trophoblast eventually develops into chorion. After the appearance of the primitive mesenchyma and development of the chorion, the primary stem villi are named as chorionic villi. Amnion. The inner cell mass of the cell is called blastocyte and develops into embryo and the embryonic membrane, that is amnion. A fluid-filled space develops around the embryo. This space lined with a smooth, splitted, slippery, glistering membrane called amnion. The amnion originates from ectoderm, the primary germ cells. It has an important role in PGE2 formation, particularly after the labor starts. Presentation and presenting part. In obstetrics, the presentation of a fetus about to born specifies the anatomical part of the fetus leading, that is closest to the pelvic inlet of birth canal. According to the leading part, it is identified as a cephalic breech or shoulder. Presenting part is the part of baby that leads the way through the birth canal. Most often baby's head, but it can be a shoulder, buttocks or a feet. Retroversion and inversion of the uterus. Inversion of the uterus is an extremely rare but life-threatening complication of third stage of labor in which the uterus is turned inside out partially or completely. It may be due to spontaneous, that in case of 40% and or iatrogenic in 75%. The dangers include shock, pulmonary embolism and hemorrhage. Retroversion of the uterus occurs when the woman's uterus tilt backward rather than forward. It is commonly called a tipped uterus. Some of the causes of retroverted uterus include natural variation, adhesions, endometriosis, fibroids, and pregnancy. Trained birth attendants or accredited social health activities or ASHA workers. TBA are not receive any formal education and training in healthcare provision, and there is no specific professional requisite such as certification or licensure. Traditional midwives provide basic healthcare support and advice during after pregnancy and childbirth based primarily on experience and knowledge acquired informally through the traditions and practices of communities where they originated. They usually work in rural, remote, and other medically underserved areas. An accredited social health activist or ASHA is a community health worker instituted by the Government of India's Ministry of Health and Family Welfare as a part of National Rural Health Mission. ASHA is a health activist in the community who will create awareness on health and social determinants and mobilize the community towards local health planning and increase utilization and accountability of the existing health services. Thank you. Thank you for listening.